Hey guys, and welcome to Little Blackbird 91. We're talking to you guys about Ready to Love, and we're dealing with Shiloh and dealing with Phil. And I'm talking about this situation where, go sit on the bench and heal. You guys know this is my favorite 2021 term. We're carrying this into 2022 as a theme. Go sit on the bench and heal. There are behaviors that we have oftentimes that are not cohesive or even coherent with having a healthy relationship. They don't help us bond. They don't help us keep good maintenance. They don't even help us attain a relationship, but rather they help us lose relationships very, very quickly. And so we want to talk a little bit about Shiloh and the good girl, the bad girl, good guy routine. I spoke about this in some video series earlier on in the series in the year, where I spoke about how bad girls are drawn to good guys and how they try to break them, and how good guys and how good bad boys are drawn to good women and how they try to break them. The whole point of this is that when you're broken, you seek for some level of equilibrium. What I mean by this: most people who are broken, and I mean broken, I'm not, and again, there are exceptions to rules, because there are people who have been broken, who have met a partner who's uber patient, and I hear these stories all the time, and please stop making exceptions rules. It just needs a patient man or woman who just fully understands you, and that's going to make the, nah, come on, guys, let's not do that. Let's not make exceptions to rules. And actually, I feel really bad because I said we're not doing this voice thing in 2022, all right? Let's not do that to try and say people are making that thing. But it's like people say that, get a patient person, a person who's going to understand. No, sometimes you are broken and you just need to sit on the bench and heal. Okay, you are injured. Stop trying to play on the field. All right, and that's what I see with Shiloh right now. She's broken and she needs to heal, and that's okay. There's no shame in that, because there's a lot of us in that same position. Okay, really important for Shiloh, I think, and in the Phil situation here is, Shiloh mainly, because I'm talking about her and the brokenness is, when you're dealing with people that are broken, they look for places where they can heal. And the problem is, the good people become incubators for bad people. Good people become doctors. Good people become hospitals. Good people become good Samaritans. And the trouble thing here is that brokenness seeks its level. I want you to understand something. Just like water seeks its level, so does brokenness. And oftentimes what brokenness will do is it will try to break the other person, because it's seeking its own. When you are perfect, when you're imperfect, perfection becomes a hazard and a weight that you can't match. And the insecurity kicks in and begins to try and tear down the perfection. Right? That's why many people run away from God. Okay, but not knowing that, God is the one, God's spirit, once it's inside of you, makes you perfect, not you being perfect by what you do. Okay, just a little Christian biblical teaching there. All right, so in relationships, your brokenness tries to find its equilibrium, and if it doesn't, it will try to make it happen. And this is why when you find good girls and bad good guys and bad girls and bad guys and good girls together, that they try to break the other person, because the person is looking for their co-equal. Now, some will call it narcissism, some will call it just abuse, some people will just call it, we'll call it, bad behavior. Whatever you label it as in terms of behavior, they're finding their equilibrium. They're trying to break the other person. And it sounds very sinister and dark, because it actually is. Right, in some respect, but the truth of the matter is that when Shiloh was dealing with Phil, she liked Phil. She liked what Phil was about. In fact, many women did. They liked his consistency. They liked his calmness. They liked his chillness. They liked his energy. He could communicate a bit better, and she was actually trying to almost like quote unquote improve him. Like for instance, when they were doing a card game, and she said, and she asked obviously she asked him what he felt like she could do better. She was like, I think you could be more direct. She jumped in to answer the question for him because she wanted to be able to get that answer out. And I think sometimes Shiloh does that because she wants to be able to help. But that help now is coming against you. It's working against you. And that help is now not aiding you in this particular situation. And when you're broken in some aspect of you, and like I said, everybody is broken in some aspect. When you're broken in a particular aspect and you're broken so much, what can happen is your vision becomes askew. And I say this all the time, right? If you've got glasses that are broken, you're going to see the world completely shattered because your lenses are shattered. And so when Shiloh is dealing with Phil, the emotion that we see from her, she had committed herself to not the process but to him. And it's very interesting because when she spoke to Tyrone, she said, I want to go through the process. And that's why I said that she wasn't being true to herself. She wasn't being true to the lie. The lie is that I want to go for the person. No, the lie is, the truth is, you didn't want Tyrone. Let's keep it a book. You didn't want Tyrone. So the excuse came out to pacify him. I need to go through the process. Then you found yourself in a situation with somebody else who you liked, just like Tyrone liked you, who wanted to go through the process, and yet you couldn't handle it because the truth of the matter is you wasn't being honest about the Tyrone situation. Now everyone screamed and said, oh, but that's the first week. No. She said she's not going. Look, this is why, you see, men and women are very interesting, right? As a man, there's been so many times where I've asked a girl, let me get your number. And she would say to you, I got a man. Yeah? The truth of the matter is, it's not that she got a man. She don't like you. Right? I'm not saying that's every girl, but I'm just saying there are often times where it's not the fact that she got a man, it's that she doesn't like you, right? Because sometimes what can happen is you can say, but I've got a man, but you ain't really got a man. But that's the cover story because you don't want to be mean and say I don't want your number. Right? And there were consequences for women as well. I know the physical violence and stuff that happens for women as well from rejection. So I'm not throwing it out there and saying lightly. I'm just kind of giving an overview, right? Sometimes women will give an excuse as to why they feel the way they feel. The truth of the matter is, she wasn't feeling Tyrone. Let's just keep it a buck. She may say it all she wants, but the excuse of I need to go through the process doesn't wash when you suddenly are in a position where you have to go through the process of somebody else who you like and you can't do it. And yet you want to pen that person into a decision. So your actual answer to Tyrone originally wasn't really about the process. It's that I just didn't want to have to shut you down. Right? And the reason why she got so frustrated with the Phil situation is because she knew that her excuse of going through the process was rubbish. It was a lie. Therefore, if she can lie about it, so can Phil. Ain't that interesting? So for me, I'm looking at them, I'm going, okay, do you know what? It's such a vibe where it's such a situation where, you know, Shiloh, if she gets this healing in this area, right, she'll see partners differently. You know, I think the triggering that happened, if you look at the intensity of emotion and the way that she's brought this cloud over Phil now in regards to wanting to hold him accountable for something that really isn't about, but more about triggered, tells me the healing needs to take place majorly. Right? Healing needs to take place majorly. Because the displacement, the anger, the fear, the pain, the emotion that she may be feeling isn't fully for Phil. It is a culmination of past events building up to this moment where Phil now represents all those faces of men who have done her dirty and wrong, and therefore that moment where he picks her up now becomes the pinnacle point to which she must hold fire to and use it as the basis of her campaign and crusade. It's now become a holy war because no woman should go through this. That's the brokenness I'm talking about. That she has not self-aware that actually it's not just about saying he didn't physically harm you. It's about the fact that you take accountability for the fact that this situation is brought about because you are triggered. You're triggered, right? I'm not saying it's not a big deal that he put his hand, that he picked you up. But again, I said this in my other video as well, considering context. When you're broken, you don't want to consider context because you want to be right. And that's where I'm seeing Shiloh at right now in this whole situation. Look at the way she spoke to Tommy at the very end. Said, "Oh, when I spoke to Phil, he was very defensive." Yes. Why would he not be defensive? You're pretty much accusing him of DV. That's what you're basically accusing him of because he picked you up because you were drunk on a 4 a.m. in the alley and you said you didn't want to be touched, because he picked you up and tried to take you back to the bar. You're telling me, you're now looking at it going, yeah, Yeah. He emotionally hurt me. Yeah. And you're not self-aware to see that there's a problem. That's what I'm talking about, the brokenness I'm talking about. The lack of the self-awareness in the situation. The lack of it. And the contradictory statement slightly. So, I think here, if you are somebody who needs healing, ladies and gentlemen, look at this as an example. This is what happens when we don't heal. This is what happens when we don't take our time. This is what happens when we don't spend time with self to heal some old wounds. And they're there. You just don't want to deal with them yet. You don't feel like you got the strength or the courage to do so. You need to. You ain't got a choice. Life will be so much sweeter with those problems that are internal, emotional conflicts, emotional wounds from our parents and those who say they loved us. Until we start to deal with those issues, going forward in your relationships, it's going to be very difficult, because you'll always find a reason as to why you don't need to be in this relationship, or the person done something. There's a reason why I'm acting the way I'm acting. Look, go and sit on the bench and heal. I'm going to say that last time again. Go sit on the bench and heal. Appreciate you guys. Stay locked. Stay locked. Let us know your thoughts down below. We appreciate you guys.